tell me, in this great chaotic circus of life we're all performing in, is there truly love out there, or, perhaps just a clay filter sitting in the dusty corner of our past?
Oh my gosh. I cannot believe you just landed right off the Cannonball launch pad. You're literally still wearing your sequin helmet, and your first instinct is to hit us with that exact existential musing from the latest ESL notes.
Hey, I mean, I have a lot of time to think while I'm flying through the air. But let me just brush this off my shoulders here. Welcome, everyone, right into the backstage of the Big Top.
Yes, welcome.
You're joining us for Acad FM's audio overview, which is our deep dive into the latest class notes and Google Meeting transcriptions coming directly from Academia BSB's team.
We are so thrilled to have you here with us. And just to set the stage, today's date on the official class URL is Saturday, 2026-0509.
Right.
Our mission today is to analyze and really review the latest class notes from students.academiabsb.com/BORR.
Which is such a good resource.
It really is.
Yeah.
And we're also pulling verbatim quotes from the Google Drive attachment, specifically the one labeled Acad class Alan Swiz Annotações do Gemini. It's an ESL lesson given by teacher Paulo to the VIP student on the file.
And if you're listening, you are in the right place to level up your fluency. We're going to unpack, the reality of how we use vocabulary, the mysterious squid rule of WH questions, and the literal grammar of existence.
Exactly. It's going to be a high-flying acrobatic routine through some really sophisticated concepts.
Well, I am still sweating from the adrenaline, honestly. But let's just jump straight into the ring with our current vocabulary. I'm looking at the GMT file, and we have quite the lineup today.
Oh, we definitely do.
We've got, to lie, to say the truth, expensive, cheap, to scare, reason, currently, nowadays, actually, and, oh, wow, nuclear weapon, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, it's a very dynamic list, for sure. But, let's look at the mechanics behind these words, rather than just reading them like a dictionary.
Makes sense.
Take expensive and cheap. As a B1 learner, you probably know they relate to money, right?
Yeah, of course.
But culturally, expensive implies an investment, like a high financial cost for assumed quality, whereas cheap can sometimes imply poor quality, not just a low price.
Oh, right. That's a subtle difference, but a big one.
Exactly. Then we have verbs of consequence. To lie creates a false reality, while to say the truth grounds us. To scare is the action of inducing fear, and the reason is the logical foundation behind why any of this happens.
And just to address the elephant in the room here, nuclear weapon is sitting right there in the middle of our grammar list.
Right, and I'm really glad you brought that up because it is crucial to clarify for you, the listener, that we are looking at this term strictly through a linguistic lens.
Absolutely strictly linguistic.
It appeared in the lesson simply as a concrete noun phrase.
Yeah.
An explosive device relying on nuclear reactions. We're using it purely for sentence construction and grammatical mechanics.
Right.
We are maintaining an absolute strict neutrality. There are no political stances here, just language structure.
Exactly. We only drop knowledge bombs here, nothing else. But speaking of language structures, here is where I always get, completely tripped up. Actually versus currently.
Oh, that's a classic one.
Right. Because, actually, I am the star of this circus, so my schedule is actually packed.
Right.
I mean, that sounds right to me.
And this is exactly why it's one of the most common traps for language learners.
Yeah.
Actually is a false friend for many speakers. It does not refer to time or current events.
Wait, really? It doesn't?
Nope. Actually is a word of contradiction. You use it to correct a false assumption. So if I say to you, hey, you missed the safety net, you would say, actually, I landed perfectly.
Oh, wow. Okay. So if I want to talk about time, what do I use?
You use currently, or nowadays. Those are the ones that set the timeline. You would say, currently, my schedule is packed, meaning at this present moment in time.
So actually, I've been using currently completely wrong this whole time. That is mind-blowing.
It really changes things when you see the mechanics, doesn't it?
It totally does. Now, flipping back to the notes from the past class, teacher Paulo challenged the student with some intense word replacements.
Yes, let's solve those.
So if the crowd is, gasping when I shoot out of the cannon, the notes suggest the show isn't just spectacular, it's, what's the word? Impressive.
Impressive, exactly.
Yeah.
It carries the weight of leaving a lasting mark on someone's memory, which is exactly what a good performance does.
Right.
And on the flip side, if a clown decides to make a joke while the boss is giving a serious safety briefing about the high wire, that joke doesn't just bomb, it's useless. Or, more accurately in the context of the lesson, unnecessary.
Completely unnecessary. Which leads perfectly into the idiomatic expressions teacher Paulo introduced: the basic bitch, the average Joe, and the sophisticated guy.
Oh, yes.
These aren't just vocabulary words, are they? They're like entire cultural personas.
They absolutely are. They define how a person interacts with the world.
Yeah.
An average Joe is the quintessential everyday person, unassuming, blending in.
Right, just a regular guy.
But a sophisticated guy implies a level of worldly experience, refined tastes, and specific demands.
Well, look at me. I mean, I am a sophisticated guy. And as a sophisticated guy, I demand that the canvas for our new circus tent be expensive and imported. None of that cheap, generic tarp for my performances.
Ha! I love it. Notice how naturally you just paired those concepts. A sophisticated persona culturally aligns with the demand for expensive materials and the rejection of cheap alternatives. The vocabulary supports the identity perfectly.
You know, let's just let a few seconds of silence speak for itself right here to let that sink in.
Yeah, absolutely taking a beat.
Okay, moving on from that quiet moment, talking about this expensive circus canvas reminds me of something fascinating from the arts world.
Oh, do you tell?
Historically, the massive circus tents we perform under today, they actually evolved from heavy, cumbersome ship sails. The canvas is literally the boundary that separates the magic of the show from the mundane world outside.
That is such a brilliant connection.
Yeah.
The canvas is the literal and metaphorical roof over our heads.
Quick clarifying question on that, just to be sure. When we describe that giant canvas as expensive, we are strictly talking about the financial currency required to acquire it, correct?
Precisely. It denotes a high monetary valuation, short and straightforward.
Perfect. All right, grab the trapeze because we are swinging right into pronunciation acrobatics.
I am ready.
Looking at the past class list, the GMT shows we worked on a huge list. Let me read them verbatim. Mention downstairs, expect, favorite, guitar, cages, cathedral, patience, ideas, marvelous, comfortable competition, girls' book, and without.
It is quite a sequence. And, pronunciation isn't just about making the right noise. It's really about mouth mechanics. Let's look at some of the phonetic pairs that trip up even advanced learners.
Yeah, please.
Take span versus Spain. Span requires a relaxed, shortest sound, open the jaw. But Spain introduces a diphthong, which is a gliding vowel sound, where the A moves into an E sound.
So it physically takes longer to say Spain?
Exactly. Then we have full versus full. Full requires you to push your lips forward into a tight circle, holding that long oo. But full is much shorter. The tension sits back in your throat.
Okay, and what about coarse versus curse?
Coarse has a rounded or sound, dropping the jaw slightly, while curse relies on the air sound, where the tongue pulls back and the lips stay relatively neutral. But I think the most interesting pair is hurt versus heart.
I actually have a whole theory about this one.
Oh, let's hear it.
Think about what the words mean. Hurt is the sharp, sudden physical impact, right? Like landing way outside the safety net. But heart, that requires you to literally open your mouth wider, almost like you're letting out the emotional swelling in your chest when the crowd goes wild.
I absolutely love that. You are mapping the physical pronunciation to the emotional meaning of the word. That is exactly how you anchor vocabulary into long-term memory.
It really works for me.
Speaking of memory, let's look at our current class pronunciation challenge. Every versus ever. These are dangerous because they look like twins, but they act like strangers.
They really do. It's so tricky.
Every is inclusive. It means all members of a group, like you
Yeah.
practice every single day. Notice how the mechanics work there. We completely drop that middle E. We don't say every, we compress it to every.
Right.
But ever means at any time, and you have to clearly pronounce that ending Have you ever missed the net?
I can safely say every day I climb into that cannon, I hope I don't ever miss the net.
See? A perfect demonstration of the mechanics in action.
You know, let's take another quick moment of silence right here.
Taking a breath.
Okay, we're back. Focusing so deeply on how sounds travel in the mouth really reminds me of how sound travels in the circus tent itself. The acoustics of the big top are designed so that the ringmaster's voice reaches the very back row without a microphone. It's all about projection and clarity.
Exactly. If the pronunciation is muddy, the message just gets lost in the rafters.
It's a short question to make sure I'm projecting clearly. Regarding fool versus full, if I just ate 3 bags of cotton candy, my stomach is full, not full.
Correct. Your stomach is full of sugar. But you would be a fool to launch out of a cannon immediately afterward.
A risk I take daily. Let's move on to the use of language section. The notes show we are working on sounding more sophisticated. How do I upgrade my basic sentences?
By using framing phrases. As a B1 learner, you want to move away from just stating raw facts and start framing your perspective. Instead of simply saying, I think the net is small, let's upgrade it. How would a sophisticated guy say it?
Let me adjust my posture here. In my opinion, the net is too small. I believe it needs to be wider. In fact, I have all the evidence to say that this net is mathematically inadequate for my trajectory.
Brilliant. You have totally taken ownership of the argument. And if I'm the circus director, and I agree with you, I don't just say yes. I validate your point with certainty, of course. For sure. Exactly. Definitely.
I feel validated already.
And when I finally hand you the blueprints for the new net, I use the interacting phrase. Here you are.
I feel way more persuasive already. But let's look at the grammar section, because Teacher Paulo introduced something called the squid rule.
The squid rule is such a fantastic visual mnemonic for mastering English WH questions. Just imagine a squid. At the end of its tentacles are the core information-gathering words. When, what, where, who, which, why, whose, whom.
Okay, I have to push back on this. What about how far and how long? There are questions. Why did they get chopped off the squid?
That is a really sharp observation. They aren't on the squid because they operate on a fundamentally different mechanism.
How so?
The WH squid tentacles are designed to extract absolute data points. A specific person, a specific location, a specific reason. But how combinations measure sliding scales in increments? How long measures duration or time? How far measures physical distance? They aren't asking for a single point, they are asking for a measurement.
So who asks for a name, but how far asks for a tape measure?
Exactly. Now, for measuring distance, let's look at how English measures reality itself, the grammar of existence.
That sounds incredibly dramatic.
It is the foundation of how we build the world in English. We don't just say a lion is in the cage. We often establish the reality first. We use is there for the singular present and are there for the plural present. Is there peace in your home? Are there good people in your family?
Oh, I see. And if we look backwards in time into the GMT notes, we use was there and were there.
Exactly.
The student was dealing with some hilarious, hyper-specific scenarios. Were there toxic people in your past? Was there a clay filter in your mom's house? And my personal favorite, was there a video game in the 90s?
Notice how the verb to be shifts to agree with the singularity or plurality of the noun that follows it. The existence of the object dictates the structure of the question.
Let's take one more moment of silence right here.
Letting it settle.
Okay, that grammar concept actually makes me think of theater stage props from the arts world. A completely empty stage is just a room. But the moment you place a single chair under a spotlight, you are declaring existence happens here. The grammar of existence does that for our conversations.
That is a perfect analogy. You are setting the stage before the actors, meaning the nouns and verbs, start interacting.
Quick clarification on setting that stage. If I'm asking the crew about setting up multiple cannons for the finale, plural existence is strictly are there, as in are there cannons ready?
Yes. Are there cannons? Sets a plural and highly dangerous stage.
Excellent.
Now let's step into the centering. Reading and speaking. We have a full text from the notes describing the circus lifestyle. I'm going to read it enthusiastically, and I want you to listen to the narrative flow.
I am all ears.
Currently, the circus travels between big cities and mountain towns.
Huh?
Although the performers live a rushed lifestyle, many of them still prepare breakfast together each morning.
Right.
Backstage, the juggler practices silently, while the clown attempts to delight the audience before the main performance begins.
Got it.
Meanwhile, motorcycle riders prepare for the dangerous death globe session.
Okay, looking at this text, I have a hot take. The text highlights this rushed lifestyle like it's a burden. But the chaos, the adrenaline, the packing up in the middle of the night, that is the absolute best part of the circus. It's what keeps us moving.
I have to completely disagree with you there. If you look at the psychological mechanics in that paragraph, the rushed lifestyle is the conflict, but preparing breakfast together is the resolution. That quiet moment of community is the only thing keeping the performers sane.
We'll have to agree to disagree.
Well, let's look at how the comprehension questions tackle this. We have 4 of them. The first question asks, what statement is supported by the passage?
Well, looking at the evidence, the text explicitly says it travels between big cities and mountain towns. So the underlying reality is that the circus travels frequently.
Correct. It doesn't just say they travel. It gives geographic evidence. The second question asks for the closest meaning to the word rushed.
Given they are moving constantly, rushed clearly means hurried. There's no time to pause.
Exactly. The third question asks about the clown's motivation. Why perform before the main show?
To warm up the crowd, the text literally says the clown attempts to delight the audience. It's setting the emotional stage.
And finally, What is happening backstage?
Well, while the clown is out front, the text says the juggler is practicing silently, probably dropping clubs in the dark, but practicing nonetheless.
It's a great example of concurrent action. Now, for the stinking section, Teacher Paolo used a historical text to challenge the students' phonetic awareness. I'm going to read it out loud and verbatim, but I want you to actively engage with the capitalized focus words as we hit them.
You got it. I'll suddenly interrupt and echo them back so we can hear the pronunciation in the room.
Here we go. Many years ago, a small country called Spain.
Oh, many years ago.
In Spain.
Was famous for its beautiful sea, long rivers, and high mountain areas. Nature was ubiquitous there.
Wait, the sea and the rivers made it ubiquitous? That is a great, sophisticated word for everywhere.
Exactly. And people loved the beauty of nature and dreamed about the future. Nature and the future. Notice how those Becher endings share that exact same chur sound.
Great catch. A brave sovereign wanted to acquire new land, so his army traveled through the desert.
So the sovereign wanted to acquire land, going through the sand.
The soldiers stayed in the desert for many days, and after dinner they ate a sweet dessert together.
Okay, pause. That is the ultimate trap right there. Desert versus dessert.
It really is. Look at the mechanics. Desert, the hot sandy place, has the stress on the first syllable. Dessert. But dessert, the sweet cake, shifts the stress to the second syllable. Dessert.
It completely changes the meaning. Just like the verbs come in the present and came in the past.
Precisely. Let's finish the thought. During the trip, some cities were conquered and other enemies were vanquished.
Conquered and vanquished. Two incredibly powerful historical ways to say defeated.
You really have to stay on your toes with historical narratives. Now let's cool down a bit in the writing workshop.
But I did.
The goal of this essay exercise was to separate regular everyday events from extraordinary weekend events. But let's look at the student's first draft from the notes. I'll read it. My Saturday was very tiring because there were 2 shows at the circus. After the shows, I had 2 meetings with my boss about a new canvas. I think love is very important. I'm a good husband, but I'm not a good son. There is a TV and there are smartphones. Some famous brands are Gucci, Prada, Nokia. There is cold water and supermarket bags.
Whew. Okay, reading that out loud, it feels like a clown car where a dozen different ideas are all spilling out at the exact same time.
It happens to every language learner. When you are translating in your head, you tend to translate isolated, disconnected thoughts rather than weaving a cohesive narrative. It jumps from circus canvases directly into a deep psychological confession about family and then suddenly lists Gucci and Nokia.
So how do we fix the mechanics of that?
In Teacher Paulo's feedback for the second draft, the focus is entirely on transitions. You have to group related thoughts, put the circus work together, put the personal reflections together. And if you are going to list random objects, they need a contextual anchor. Like, why are we talking about the TV and smartphones?
We need to use those sophisticated phrases we learned earlier to build bridges between the sentences.
Exactly. So we proposed a beautifully polished final version that connects these thoughts. And with the students' enthusiastic consent, this polished essay is going to be published on the school's blog at students.academiabsb.com/blog.
That is amazing. Earning those reward points, bringing in the Estrelinas.
It's a huge milestone. And looking at the pedagogical reports, the performance across the board is excellent. What we are seeing in these notes is a steady, undeniable development within the CEFRL framework. It's really solidifying that B1 VIP status.
B1 VIP, it feels so good to see the progress. But as a student of the game, I have to ask, what is coming next? What is the next high-wire act?
Oh, the upcoming linguistic scope is going to be thrilling. We are diving into suffixes, understanding how simply changing the ending of a word can transform a noun into an adjective. Then we are tackling distributive adjectives and pronouns, specifically the subtle nuances of each versus every.
Oh, that's going to be tricky.
And finally, the mirror structures. So do I, and so am I. Learning how to reflect someone else's reality back at them grammatically.
So do I versus so am I. I am so ready for that challenge.
You will totally master it. And let's look at the class stats because these are the collective metrics we are aiming for with all our listeners. Today's notes show a vocabulary growth of 11 new words.
Nice.
A comprehensive lexicon repertory logging 375 words.
That is a massive toolbox to build sentences with.
It is. An oral fluency and speech engagement span of 50 full minutes of active talking. A listening wavelength of 0 minutes, 0 seconds. Wait, actually 3 hours, 22 minutes, and 13 seconds of deep audio immersion across the episodes. But the most impressive metric, a phonetic deviation ratio of -35%.
Negative 45%. That means pronunciation errors are practically plummeting into the safety net.
Exactly. We spent so much of this deep dive talking about the chaos of the circus, the rush lifestyle, the expensive canvases. But at the core of all this vocabulary, whether you are an average Joe or a sophisticated guy, is the desire to connect, to just prepare breakfast together.
It really always comes back to how we relate to each other.
It does, and it reminds me of a brilliant insight from the acclaimed Latino author Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Yeah.
He famously suggested that life isn't just about what happens to you, it's about what you remember, and crucially, how you remember it to tell the tale.
How we remember it and how we have the vocabulary to actually communicate it.
Because as the school's quirky motto goes,
It is not only about the language.
it is all about communication.
Exactly. So as you step out of the big top today and back into your own reality, I want you to take one final provocative thought with you. We talked a lot about the circus tent canvas, how it's an expensive investment, how it protects the magic happening inside. Ask yourself, what kind of canvas are you building over your own life? Are you weaving it with cheap threads and toxic influences, or are you investing in a sophisticated, expansive canopy meant to cover the people you truly care about? Keep building your vocabulary, keep reflecting on your reality, and we will see you on the next deep dive.